Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, the women's tennis betting podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. Before we get started, please make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favourite podcast provider. And tell us what you think in the comments and follow us on social media. The handle is @BecauseWeWin. I'm Rory Jiwani. With me, as ever, is Nigel Seeley, who's just made it back from Monte Carlo. 2 clay court events in Europe for the women this week in Stuttgart and Rouen. But first, Nigel, how are you?
I'm very good, Rory. Been ages since we spoke. We haven't had.
Yes.
There's no tennis last week. Obviously, the Billie Jean King Cup was on. No main WTA events. Obviously, I spent 4 days or 5 days over in the south of France, which was absolutely glorious. But I left France at 15 minutes to get out of the country. Not for anything I've done. Don't worry, I haven't done anything wrong. Just because the weather was changing and there was a severe weather warning. And it looks like all across Europe, it's got a lot of heavy rain. I don't know if it's going to be like in Madrid, but I know it's going to be in these 2 tournaments. So luckily, though, these 2 tournaments have a roof. They're indoors. But, it's going to be a lot of wet weather around Europe. We had a really nice couple of weeks across Europe. Got out just in time, because if they didn't get that Monaco final done today, I think they would have been really struggling for the rest of the week across Europe with the bad weather that's coming.
Yeah, I can tell you, we've had all sorts of horrible weather in Madrid. And I think in England, it's been really nice for the last week or so. But in Madrid, last 4 or 5 weeks, it's been pretty much torrential rain. I'm due back in England tomorrow, and I think it's going to change. I think the weather's going to be horrible in England and probably
bringing
get
it
better
with us.
here.
You're bringing it with you, Rory. Stay where you are.
Yeah.
Stay where you are.
Exactly. Well, as you mentioned, we had the Billie Jean King Cup taking centre stage this week. Actually, some matches going on right now, but that's had a direct knock-on effect with Stuttgart, which is the main tournament this week, 500. Last year's champion, Elena Rybakina, is the big absentee, as she was leading Kazakhstan to victory in Australia, and I guess with the travel time and jet lag, she won't be defending her title this week. So without her, previous winners, we've got Iga Swiatek. She won the title in 2022 and 2023. She went down to Rybakina in the semis last year. Marta Kostyuk was the beaten finalist 12 months ago. Ashley Barty beat Aryna Sabalenka in the 2021 final. And then we're looking at before the pandemic with Petra Kvitova defeating Anett Kontaveit in 2019. Karolina Pliskova won it the year before in the final against Coco van der Wey. So, this has often been a tournament for the big hitters and servers, despite it being on clay. And the big thing about Stuttgart is it's indoors. So that really helps the servers. Saying that, it didn't play all that quick last year. Service hold percentage of 65.8 compared to a very rapid 71.9 the year before. Nigel, I mean, if you take Swiatek out of the previous winners, it's tended to be one for the bigger hitters. But I don't know, it just seems like everyone's got a reasonable chance here. What do you think?
Well, I think the other thing you'd mention is Sabalenka's been a beaten finalist here 3 of the last 4 years. She's never won it, but she's always been the bridesmaid, and she's obviously the player to beat at the moment. Absolutely key what you say there. Don't look at the odds here and think, this is a clay court event. They're big hitters, and the clay court players, like the Paulinis of this world, or the Kostyuks, or the Schneiders, or even Coco Gauff. You look at them and think, well, hang on a minute, how come they're that price? Because it's indoors, because this is one of the quickest clay court events on the calendar. So it's a very, very important factor. If it wasn't played indoors and it was on red clay outdoors, I don't think the tournament we played this week, because the weather in Stuttgart is absolutely diabolical. As far as the draw is concerned, I'm looking at it. I mean, I've gone back through the trends of this tournament, and it has been dominated by the seeded players. Absolutely dominated. 3 of the last 4 years, the number 1 seed has played. 3 of the last 4 years, the number 1 and number 2 seed have met in the final. You've got to go back to 2017 to find somebody who wasn't seeded in the top 5 who won it, and that was Laura Sigmund, who was unseeded that year. Only 2 people in the last 10 years who were unseeded have actually won the tournament. And the number 1 seed, as I said, has won it 3 times in the last 4 years. We've had number 2 seeds, number 4 seed last year, Rybakina. So the big players tend to do really well, which is a bit of a surprise, really, when you consider that a lot of these players, this is their first time on clay since Miami. So they've had a lot of rest period. They've come across, and you would have thought they'd taken a little bit of time to get used to the conditions, but not to be the case. It's been won primarily by the favourites and the big number 1s and number 2 seeds. They've done exceptionally well. And if you look at this draw, the top 4 seeds have all got byes through to the second round. and the top four top four seeds will be dominant in the outright betting. Unfortunately, at the time of recording here, we do not have any odds. We've been waiting all day for the odds to come out. Come on, Bet Rivers, get your finger out, and get some odds up. But the problem is that we had to go with what we've got because we've got time restraints for this evening and the time difference to get these shows live. So we haven't got any odds. But I'm looking at this draw here, and Sabalenka and Goff are in the top half of the draw. The bottom half of the draw is Pegula against Iga Świątek, and you've also got Mira Andreeva, and I think it's a huge tournament for her. Obviously, she called out. She didn't play very well in Miami, where she was coming after winning the Indian Wells. She was very disappointed in her defeat there. But I think this is a tournament that you wouldn't expect the favourites to do well, given where it's positioned in the calendar. But I think all the recent trends and the fact that these top 5 elite players here are over here in decent form and have got good chances, I think this is a tournament where the cream will definitely rise to the top.
Yeah, I mean, only the top 4 seeds get buys here. We'll just quickly run through it. The quarterfinals, if they do go to the seedings, Sabalenka will play Deanna Schneider. Coco Gauff will meet Jasmine Paolini. Mira Andreeva will meet Charleston winner Jessica Pegula. And Świątek will play Emma Navarro. But, there are dangers. Sabalenka's likely to face Clara Towson first up. Don't appear to be any real dangers in the second quarter unless Danielle Collins can rediscover some form. The bottom half does look tougher. Andreeva gets Kostyuk, obviously last year's runner-up, first up in the third quarter. Katerina Alexandrova's there too. She's been in good form. And in Q4... Świątek could face Yelena Ostapenko in the quarterfinals, and we know Ostapenko has a 5-0 head-to-head record. Donna Vekic is also in Q4. I think I agree with you. I think Andreeva is very interesting, despite her tough draw. She had a tough draw in Indian Wells and came through it to win it, of course. I remember this being a nightmare with the odds last year. They were really late because the draw only took place at lunchtime today. I don't know. Until we get the odds, it's really hard to have a view.
Well, I mean, if you look at this, I mean, the motivation, it's got to be about motivation for these players. I think that's the key. I mean, it's a 500 event, but it's the first sort of event in the build-up to the French Open. And I think there's certain players who are going to come in here completely motivated. I think Iga Świątek will want to win this massively. I think she'll want to make a statement. Some of her defeats recently have been shock defeats, and I think she'll want to make a statement and want to make a claim that she's back, and people should be wary of her for the French Open. So I think Iga Świątek has got a huge shot. Mira Andreeva, I think, I thought she looked. I know it's a long while. She hasn't played since that defeat against Anisimova, which I was at actually in Miami. So a bit of a long time. I mean, it's almost 3 weeks now, maybe 3.5 weeks that she hasn't played. But she's 17. The rest might do her well. But I've got the feeling that she might want to play a lot of tennis. I'm not quite sure whether she might come in cold. I think when she's running hot, I think you want to keep going. So and she's got a tough draw. She's got to play Jess Pegula, which is a tough one. In the top half of the draw, Sabalenka has spent a lot of time in Miami since she won the tournament. She was out there for a long time after, relaxing with her team, doing what she does a lot. She looks really comfortable. And, Coco Gauff, on the other hand, in that top half of the draw, looks a player that needed the time off to, think about her game. Obviously, she's a player that you would expect to go well at the French because I think she'll be suited by the slower conditions. But, if Sabalenka's head's right, which is, questionable, so I could say questionable, but every time I sort of challenge her, she goes on and wins the event. But I think at this moment in time, she is well clear at number 1 in the world. And I think in a quick conditions and the fact that she's been a 3 times beaten finalist here, I think she might, again, want to make a big point and winning this and adding it to a list of wins this year already. I mean, she is the number 1 player, but I think by some way at the moment. So I find it very hard to look past the main contenders. And in them main contenders, I'm talking Sabalenka, Andreeva, and Iga Świątek. And do you know what? I was actually going to not recommend a bet here because I've got 2 bets at the other tournament, even if we had odds. That's how difficult I think this one is. I think this is one that I'm going to pass on and I'm going to get everybody to give their opinion as the tournament goes on and betting Weekly Tennis Live this week, because I know there's no odds and we can't really have a bet, but there was nobody that I could actually make a very, very confident case for here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. With Swiatek, if I'm not mistaken, she's not reached a final, not even not won a tournament. She's not reached a final since last year's French Open. Just it doesn't all seem well there. She pulled out late of her Billie Jean King Cup tie this week. Obviously Poland were in action, but she was due to sort of lead the team and then she pulled out. It's the manner of her defeats which for me have been slightly concerning, in that, I think I've said before, she looks great when she's playing, players ranked in the 50s, 60s, normally. She steamrollers them, she opens the bakery, but then, she lost to Andreeva, she lost to Alexiala, the young Filipina player. Obviously, I think you're right. She needs a big week here to lay down a marker, but Ostapenko's waiting in that part of the draw for her. It might not go to plan.
Yeah, I don't know what price. I'm guessing that she'll probably be around about. I would have thought Sabalenka would be the favourite because she would be the favourite because you've got Mira Andreeva in that section of the draw as well, and I think she'll be clear second favourite, and perhaps Mira Andreeva third favourite. But she's got, Jess Pegula's had a brilliant recent run at the moment as well. So she's no means of giving. Her draw's impossible. Andreeva, Kostyuk, Alexandrova playing well in quick conditions indoors, and then Jess Pegula before she even runs into Iga Swiatek. So Andreeva has been given an absolute nightmare of a draw here. She certainly has the talent to go on and win this, as we've seen already this season. But I think it's all about her peaking for the French Open. So I think it's not. Without looking at the odds, it's very hard to say. But I think it's, if her mind is at it, and she hasn't had too many margaritas over the lot since she won Miami, I think Sabalenka will take some stopping here. I really do, because her draw, to me, she looks certainty to get to the semi-finals. I know she's got Towson, but I think she'll. Well, I've always been a Towson fan, but I think she'll probably edge it. But I think it's really, really difficult, and without seeing odds, I think we have to give it a swerve, and I was going to give it a swerve anyway.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the odds for, if Towson gets through, Towson against Sabalenka, because I think Towson would have a chance, especially with it being Sabalenka's first match on clay for the year. I just have a sneaking feeling Towson could beat her, but all depends on the odds. So we've got to get there first. Towson's got to get there first. So that's Stuttgart. Obviously, we've got betting Weekly Tennis Live as well. So we're looking at the outright odds, and we'll be looking at match odds for plenty of those matches, plus the ATP tournaments as well. Is it Barcelona and Munich, if memory serves? So,
yeah, we're still waiting to record that as well, me and Sean. We were still
waiting for the odds.
Well, I can understand why that one is, because Carlos Alcaraz has just won in Monte Carlo. Musetti's didn't look fit towards the end of that match, so I can understand why that's taking a little bit of time. But the odds are being a problem for us, and we've got a certain amount of time to get these up, and then it takes a bit of time to download them and put the graphics up, and then we have to send them across. So we've got to get these done earlier rather than later today. Yeah,
thank goodness we do have odds for our other women's tournament this week. It's a 250 in Rouen in France, also on clay indoors. Don't have a lot of form to go on here, because last year was the first time it was a 250. Before that, it had been a 125. So obviously the quality of the fields was much poorer. Sloane Stephens took the title last year. She beat Magda Linette in the final, having defeated Caroline Garcia in the semis. Despite it being indoors, it didn't play all that quick last year. The service hold percentage of 62.2 is a pretty standard for clay. Roland Garros was 61.9 last year, so very, very similar. This is a 32-woman draw with 8 seeds, no buys in this competition. If the quarterfinals go according to the seedings, top seed Alina Svitolina will face Britain's Sone Cartal. McCartney Kessler will face fellow American Alicia Parks. In the bottom half, Mayuka Ochijima of Japan will play Olga Danilovic, and second seed Linda Noskova will play Lucia Bronzetti. Dangers outside the seeds. Well, Q1 looks a bit tough. You've got Angelina Kalinina and Maria Sakkari there. Elise Cornet is back from retirement. She's in Q2, but wouldn't expect her to challenge particularly here. In Q3, Caroline Garcia and Anna Blinkova meet in round 1. And Noskova, who was beaten surprisingly in the Billie Jean King Cup by Jessica Buzas-Monero, the Spaniard. She's got a tricky opener against Bernarda Pera, and the winner faces either Suzanne Lamons or wildcard Bianca Andreescu, who I guess is back from yet another injury. Nigel, this looks pretty tough.
It does look tough. We don't really have much to go on in terms of previous results, as you said there. Sloane Stephens beat Magda Linette, which was probably a little bit of a shock last year. Sloane Stephens was the number 6 seed. Linette was unseeded in that final. But looking at it here, I mean, I'm quite surprised that the market has the odds of the top 2 so short. I'm quite surprised that Noskova is plus 330. I'm not quite sure whether this surface will suit her. I mean, her clay court form isn't much to be written home about. I'm not massively convinced by her on a clay court. As you said, she didn't play particularly well at the Billie Jean Cup. You know, she got beaten fairly comfortably. She lost in the first round and her last 2 matches in the Sunshine Double. You know, in Indian Wells, which is a slow event, she got beat 6-1, 6-4 by Sun. She got beat by Kessler in Miami. I know it's a bit quicker there. And her clay court form, as I've said, isn't that great. I mean, the only time she's ever done well, really, on the clay last year was when she got to the semi-finals of the tournament in Prague, in her own event, where she got beat by Magda Linette. Other than that, first round exit in Madrid to Andreeva, beaten Stuttgart by Raducanu, who you wouldn't expect to win on clay, and got beaten the first round of the Olympics as well in Roland Garros. So I'm not at all convinced by Noskova here, and I really don't understand why she's a plus 330 favourite. So to me, that's an automatic fade. Elena Svitolina, a great player back in the day. Is she the same player now? She's 30 years of age. Has she got the motivation to win? To me, she's always been a player that's always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. Always been semi-finalists, quarter-finalists. And her record again on clay last year, she beat Teachman last week, who she's played in the first round here. But I mean, her record last year on clay again, I don't think that's anything that justifies the odds here. She got to the last 16 of the French Open, got beat by Rybakina, but didn't beat anybody. She beat Pliskova, Parry, Bogdan. At the Olympics, she got to the last 16 again, beat by Krejcikova, but struggled to get there. Rome, last 16, Madrid, round 2. I mean, there's not really, and you know, her form back in the day on clay hasn't been great. It's been hard courts and Wimbledon where she's done okay. So Svitolina plus 345. I'm not really convinced by that. She will potentially set up a second round clash against Kalinina if she can beat Teachman again, her fellow countrywoman Kalinina. I think the value here is in Q2. I think Q2 is by far the weakest quarter of the lot. And you got McCartney Kessler, who is 2-6 last year on clay and 21-19 in her career. Now, people might think, it's a winning record, but some of these are at challenger event, low level events, 1-2-5s where, she's going to be 1-50 to win some of these matches. But her record in the top level last year was 2-6. She is not a clay court player, McCartney Kessler. So that is a big, big negative for me in her. She's a number 4 seed, can't have her. And I said last time we were on talking about the clay court, Alicia Parks, there's no way is that this woman a clay court player. She got absolutely stuffed by Jovic. Really, really easy. I think it was 6-2, 6-3 or something like that. It was very easy in her last match on clay. So she's 0-1 this year and she's 2-7 last year. So those 2 seeds there, they are, for me, absolute fades, complete fades. You've got 1, 2, 3 qualifiers. You've got Elise Cornet, who's older than me and you, and you've got a French wildcard player. That's that quarter. It leaves one person, who's Gabriella Elena Rus. And that is where I'm going in the top half of the draw. She's 28-1, the Romanian there. Last year, she reached the quarterfinals here, got beat by Garcia. But I cannot not see Roos getting through to the semi-finals here. There's nothing in that quarter. Kessler, no chance. Parks, fade all day long. Whoever she plays, qualify. We don't know the qualifiers coming in, but, I'd fade whoever they play, Kessler and Parks in that match. Cornet, coming out of retirement, and a wild card. The rest qualifiers. You've got a player there who's got a very, very good clay record. She got to the semi-finals of Hamburg. She got to the semi-finals in Paris on clay. And she beat Cornet 6-1, 6-2 to get to the semi-finals. And that was when she was playing. She beat Mladenovic, the French girl, 6-1, 6-love. She got to the quarterfinals in Rouen last year when she got beat by Garcia. So she's a quarterfinalist, semi-finalist, and a semi-finalist in big events on clay last year. And she's 28-1. And I think she'll come through that section there. And in the top half, I can't see Svitolina and Svitolina or Zachary. I wouldn't bet either of them at single figure prices. So in the top half, I'm going for Elena Gabriela Roos.
It's funny because I was thinking similar about Q2. I actually quite like Roos's opponent in first round, Giacomo. She is flaky, but I'm thinking with home support, she's got talent, Giacomo, but she has occasions where she just misses. She's not even missing the tram line; she's missing the whole court.
Well, the line's opened up, and I was watching the move, and there's been a big move for Roos in the money line in that match. I mean, she's down to minus 185 with Bet Rivers to win that match. She opened up a bit bigger than that, and plus 145 Giacomo. So if you are going to take Giacomo to come through, you might want to bet her in that match. But I mean, you are going to get a big price. Well, I mean, what is she?
She's $50. I mean,
I'd want bigger than that, especially when she's a plus 145 shot to beat just to get through the second round.
But as you say, after that.
That is the worst. That's one of the worst quarters I've ever seen in a women's draw or a men's draw. I mean, there's literally nobody. The two C's, the two Americans, that I just can't have them at all. Whoever they're playing in the round one, the qualifiers going to that draw, even if they're like -$3 or -4, whatever, I'll be betting the qualifiers whoever because they are. They may be the number 4, number 6 seeds this week, but out of the list of the 32, they wouldn't be in the top 20 for me on clay.
Yeah, inclined to agree with you. Any thoughts on the bottom half, Nigel?
Well, yeah, I've looked at the bottom half again. I mean, I've got a fade for Noskova. I can't trust Andreescu. Lamens, I think, will beat Andreescu, and I think Lamens could give Noskova problems there. Bronzetti, I think she's a clay quarter, but I think she'd want it a little bit slower. And in Q3, I've gone for Danilovic at 11-1. I think that she's got some of the best clay court form in the draw, and I think the Serbian here has got a good chance to progress through. She opens up against a qualifier, then she plays Caroline Garcia, which is a tough match. But Caroline Garcia is a player that you can't trust her in front of a French crowd. The nerves get to her. I've seen her play live in the French Open, and she's gone to pieces where the pressure's on. There's not going to be any pressure here compared to a French Open, but she's very flaky at the best. And Danilovic is a player that's on the up. She's 24 years of age. I think she's 5-0 on clay this year. She just won the Antalya WTA event, and she won it absolutely unbelievably. I mean, I know it was a very low level quality of player, but the shortest price she was on the money line was -$4 to win any one of her match. But she won, just look at these results, 6-1, 6-3, 6-love, 6-love, 6-2, 6-2, 6-love, 6-2, 6-2, 6-3. So she's only at, that is good for, and she comes in 5-0 on clay. And I think me and you have discussed her before. She broke onto the scene at the Australian Open this year. She hasn't really done much but she beat Jess Peggott at the Australian Open. She got beat by Paula Badosa, but played really well in the second set, pushed her quite tight. And I think she's a player that both you and I like. And I think at 11-1, Danilovic would be my second pick. So I'm going to have a half a unit each way on Roos and a half a unit each way on Danilovic as my 2 picks this week in the WTA event in Rouen.
Yeah, Danilovic was my big pick for the tournament. I think her half of the draw is pretty weak. She did win that challenger on clay, as you say, at the end of March. And I think it's quite good that she comes here relatively fresh, because she does have a bit of a patchy injury profile. She has won a WTA Tour event already. That was in Guangzhou on hard at the end of last season. But I do think clay is where she's at her best. She gave Ons Jabeur a real scare at Roland Garros a couple of years ago as well. So we'll make Danilovic a point each way.
Well, if you want to go a point each way, we go 1.5. We need the point, so I don't mind. I don't mind. I mean, I was just going to split the half the two stakes on both of them, but I mean, I'm happy to go more on the shorter price if we want to have a half and a point, and I'll go a half.
Go on then. Let's go on 1.5 points on Danilovic at $11 each way. I think she's got a really good chance. I think the top half is tougher. I'm stunned. I agree with you. I think Noskova is the wrong favourite here. She should not be favourite. I really don't understand the price at all.
Do you reckon that's to do with name? I mean, everyone, Noskova is a player that is just a player that everyone sort of is aware of, and a player that she's got a huge potential. But on clay, I don't think this is going to be. This is not where it isn't her surface. So
it's not her surface, and maybe they're thinking it's indoors, so it will be quicker, but it's not. Rouen wasn't quick last year. Svitolina, I think, is the most likely winner of that top half. But at plus 345, I couldn't be backing her. I think that's just too short. So Sakkari barely puts together two good matches. She struggles to put one good match together at the moment.
I'm amazed by that price, plus 750. I mean,
yeah,
I think
she's dropped out of the top 50 in the world. I mean, her form's pretty abysmal. I feel like Suzanne Lamons, having backed her a couple of times already this year, this could be the tournament she haunts me. If she beats Danilovic, I'm going to be spitting feathers. But I do think Danilovic is on form and on ability and on actually liking clay. I think she's the clear pick for this tournament.
Me too. So Danilovic, and I'm going to look for that week. I mean, and breaking down that draw bracket as well. That Q2. I mean,
it's really weak. It's very weak.
I mean, Kessler and Park. I mean, no, not for me.
So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me hugely if Kessler was to make a run. I know she hasn't been good on clay in the past, but I mean, there are some players who for some reason just aren't good on clay. But, there's so little difference these days. It's not like the old days when playing on clay was so different to playing on everything else.
Oh, I mean, if you look at, I mean, I made the case of, I mean, it's the people that she's been beaten by. I mean, the people that she's beaten by are people in the like 300 in the world. Then she's been turned over by nobodies, and that to me is a massive, massive concern. I mean, I'm looking at some of the people she's beaten. I mean, she got beat by a woman in the French Open Challenger. She beat an Australian girl who was just ranked at 100. She got beat by Navarro, Christian, Caroline Wozniacki beat her 6-love, 6-1. Vickery in a qualifying. She's ranked 283 in the world. She beat her, and the only one that she won, she was 1-33 to win in Charleston in a qualifier. She was 1-33, and her opponent was 10-1 against. She's never won a match where she's been in any against anybody of any note. I can't have her.
Yeah, no, it's a very weak second quarter. So there we go. So we're going to have Elena Gabriela Rusa, half a point each way for you at $28.
Yep.
And we're going to have 1.5 points each way on Olga Danilovic at $11. Those are our picks for Rouen. As we say, no Stuttgart odds, unfortunately, and I'm a bit annoyed because I picked the winner last year. I had Rybakina last year, so
we can't have her this year.
Can't have her this year because she's not there for one,
exactly.
and we haven't got odds. Yeah, we're a bit behind on the P&L at the moment, but we were much further behind last year, I can tell you that. And hopefully we get a few winners in the next few weeks. And I always feel that, I don't know, I always feel with clay, we've got a bit more of a chance. I've just always preferred the clay. I don't know if it's because it's the longer rallies or just the surface is quite good at polarizing players, but I always feel the better player tends to win. And I've always got a bit more of a chance on clay. I mean, God, The last tournament.
You've talked yourself up. You've talked yourself up now for the clay court season that we've got to deliver now.
Well, I have picked. I think I've had the runner-up for the last 2 French Opens, Paolini last year and Mukova the year before. So, this tends to be. We've got through the Sunshine Double. We've got through those 2 clay court tournaments in South America, in the Americas, which didn't go so well. Now we got European clay court. I'm hoping things turn around, but we'll see. It's a tough week. It does look a tough week, but there are some strange prices that those top 2 in Rouen, I can't have them. Well, certainly not Noskova. I cannot believe she's favourite.
Well, I thought Svitolina would be favourite, actually, to be fair, without seeing the odds. But I was quite surprised. But I want to fade both of them. So
that's WTA. Nigel, you're going to be speaking to Sean shortly for the ATP, Barcelona, Munich.
Yeah, hopefully.
We've got Champions League soccer this midweek. We've got Betting Weekly live, Betting Weekly tennis live as well. I was on with Tim Dennis on Wednesday, and he hit his daily double, which was very nice. So all going well at the moment, Nigel, and plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, lots to look forward to. Loads of stuff. Keep subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so. Incredibly, about 50% of people who watch this show do not subscribe. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Do us a favour there. Hit the like as well. And also we've got the newsletter, Betting Weekly Studios. Just go on to bettingweeklystudios.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. We're winning on that this weekend as well. So lots of action, and it's all free. All free.
So there you have it. Thanks again, Nigel. Good to speak to you as always. And thanks for joining us on Betting Weekly WTA. We'll be back again next week. Hopefully we'll have all the odds this time.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice. But thanks for joining us. And as I say, make sure you leave your comments and your likes and tell us who you think are going to win the respective tournaments in Stuttgart and Rouen. We'll see you again next week.